All right, I want to welcome everyone to Space Day at the Capitol. At this time, I'll recognize Senator Gavan. Senator Gavan.
Thank you, and I know the people up top were jumping up because of our normal routine, but we're going to be on pause just a minute, so y'all can sit down a second in the balcony, because we are going to have some special guests here today. Today we are recognizing Space Day, and of course I am fortunate enough to represent the good people of Madison County, and we have had some special guests with NASA with us here today. And so right now we have a resolution we'd like to be read.
Senate Joint Resolution proclaiming February 25th, 2025 as Space Day by Senators Gavan and others. Whereas the state of Alabama has contributed numerous advancements to the world in science, technology, and rocket propulsion over the past 6 decades, including taking Americans to the moon. And whereas NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center has private suppliers in all 7 congressional districts, reaffirming the space industry serves as a major economic development asset and technology magnet for Alabama and the Southeast. And whereas the partnerships between Marshall Space Flight Center, U.S. Space and Rocket Center, Beyond Gravity, Blue Origin, KBR, Leidos Dynetics, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Teledyne Brown Engineering, the Boeing Company, Raytheon RTX, Special Aerospace Services, United Launch Alliance, and many others across the state bring critical innovation through continued and advanced discoveries, STEM outreach, and strengthening national security, deepening partnerships across the country and around the world, and inspiring a new generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers. And whereas Alabama is resolute in continuing to shape the workforce of the future through robust partnerships with academia, industry, government, and nonprofits, and acknowledges the establishment and success of the Alabama Aerospace Student Internship Program in its 5th year, designed to provide students across Alabama a pathway into the aerospace industry. And whereas Alabama continues to secure the nation's role as frontrunner in advancing industry, technology, and education to support global space innovations and exploration. And whereas NASA astronauts Clifton Williams, Henry Hartsfield, Kathy Thornton, James Voss, Mae Jemison, Jan Davis, and Catherine Heyer, all from Alabama, have spent over 320 days in space across 18 flights of the Marshall-managed Space Shuttle program. And whereas Alabamians are exceedingly proud of the distinguished achievements, the advances in space exploration, technology, and science it has produced to the benefit of all humanity. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that we hereby proclaim February 25th, 2025 as Space Day in the state of Alabama. Signed, Patrick Harris, Secretary of the Senate, and Will Ainsworth, Lieutenant Governor.
All right, Senator Gavan.
Thank you. And you know, I don't know what the stats are now. Maybe we can get an update on it. But at one time, Auburn University had more astronauts than anybody except the academy. So you know, we'll give the Air Force Academy an edge on that one. But you know, it is a lot of people just don't realize how much we've got in Alabama. And in different places. I mean, I hate to change the subject to Birmingham, but I'll jump down there for a second. I mean, I had no idea what Southern Research did. There's so many things all across the state. People just don't know. And I was having a conversation with somebody over a real estate deal one time, and I was dealing with someone in Arizona, and they were basically like, what are these people moving to Huntsville for? And I'm like, well, we've got NASA, and I started rattling off some of these other, you all have NASA? People don't know. We're not selling ourselves or telling our story well enough. So I don't know how to tell the story well enough, but there are other people that do, and I think Mr. President is going to introduce them. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Gavan. First person I want to recognize is a good friend, Dr. Kimberly Robinson, the director of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for being such great partners. We are here today to celebrate Space Day with you great leaders and just to honor your support of the aerospace industry in the state of Alabama. Like Senator Gavan said, it is an amazing how much this state has contributed to the wonderful achievements in our nation in space. I just want to say thank you for continuing to support us at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. We are a state agency. We are one of you. Dr. Werner von Braun himself came to the state Alabama legislature to establish the U.S. Space and Rocket Center more than 50 years ago. And just minutes ago, we in the House side passed an update to our enabling legislation. And thank you to Chairman Lovern for pushing that forward. And it just gives us a modern legislation for the next 50 years of inspiration that we hope to provide. And as Senator Gavan said, we are telling the story to hundreds of thousands of people every year to let them understand our rich history and also to inspire the next generation. We are together, we are stronger. We have an economic impact of more than $135 million each year, thousands of jobs just from the Space and Rocket Center alone. But it's about more than that. It's about growing our STEM workforce in this state so we continue to be a leader across the country. And it's about shaping leadership. With 14 flown astronauts that have come through our program and 2 more waiting in the wings to fly, we also have Jared Isaacman, a graduate of our Space Camp program, who hopefully will be taking the helm at NASA very soon. We have Senator Tim Sheehy, a Republican from Montana, and George Whitesides, a Democrat from California, also at our national level that have come through our program. So we like to grow leaders. And so together we'll continue to boldly move forward. We're coming to continue to expand our programs and make sure that we're keeping up with all the developments of today and to continue to invest in our workforce here in the great state of Alabama. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Robinson. Now I'd like to recognize Mr. Scott Hall with Teledyne Brown Engineering.
Hey, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. We're the presenting sponsor for the Space Day at the Capitol. We have been supporting space for over 70 years out of Huntsville. We're very proud of that with thousands of employees here in Alabama. As a larger group that is here today for this event, hundreds of thousands of employees are all in that space family that is contributing to Alabama's economy, and we continue to grow that and look for decades to come in the future. So I will keep it short. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Now, Director Joseph Pelfrey, Director of the Marshall Space Flight Center.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here to speak on Space Day and celebrate the contributions that our state has had to our nation's goals in space exploration. Space exploration is woven throughout the state of Alabama, and it's enabled NASA's goals, beginning with the Apollo era, through amazing scientific discoveries on the International Space Station, and now, as Marshall Space Flight Center leads the way on the Artemis campaign to return humans to the moon for the first time in 50 years and to send humans to Mars. And across this state, suppliers and partners in our academic institutions are enabling the innovation that we need to develop the technologies and pursue scientific discovery that are going to enable Alabama's leadership in our nation's space exploration goals for years to come. As Marshall Space Flight Center celebrates 65 years this year of being a proud home of Alabama, being in Alabama, thank you for your leadership in making this a great place to live, work, and play for our center, for our employees, and for our nation. And we just really appreciate the partnerships. We have a number of our industry partners here that we could not do our job without, and we're thankful for the opportunity to do it in this state. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Director Pelfrey. I'd now like to recognize astronaut Dr. Larry DeLucas. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. I know some of the senators. Senator Wagner and I played basketball many years ago together. But anyway, what I want to tell you is a little bit about STEM. When I left the astronaut program, I became chief scientist for the International Space Station up in Washington, did that for 2 years. Then I returned to the university. I work for Aerospace Corporation now, running a STEM program. I've also spent a lot of my time at the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville. When I was a chemistry professor, if I went into a school and I gave a lecture about chemistry, There were students talking while I was lecturing, throwing spitballs at each other. Today, I sprinkle in my experience in space while I talk about that same chemistry, and you can hear a pin drop in a large auditorium. Space is a fantastic way to excite students about science and technology. And as you've heard from Professor Robinson, head of the Space and Rocket Center, there's a wonderful opportunity here in Alabama, and we've been taking advantage of that. And I think you'll see, as students come from that program, we've already seen some of them become engineers, scientists, some of them become astronauts. It's just a fantastic way to excite our young students to pursue careers in STEM. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm going to continue my quest with STEM for many years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Senator Gudger, you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here so much. If y'all don't mind, could we get one picture with you gentlemen and Miss right up front with Senator Gavan and Senator Roberts? I believe he's your constituent, and we'd love to have you in the picture if you don't mind. Mr. Leary, the Madison County delegation as well, please. Thank you, Senator.
All right, thank you all. Great to have you all today. While we're waiting for them to exit, I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery before we get started. The board of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Senate will now come to order. Our prayer today will be delivered by Senator Dan Roberts.
What a day as we talk about space. Let's go before He who created all that we see. Father, we come before you now. And Lord, thank you for those men and women who are here. Thank you for those that have the opportunity to go outside the Earth's atmosphere and then to get a small glimpse of this creation and just our local neighborhood, if you will, in the Milky Way where we live. And Lord, you created it all. And so we come before you and ask that you would lead, guide, and direct us today, that you would direct this government in the state of Alabama for your glory to benefit our constituents. And we commit this day to you and thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Senator Roberts. Today, the pledge will be led by Jamerica Williams. She attends Marbury High School and is paging for Senator Clyde Chambliss.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Bell, Mr. Butler, Mr. Carnley, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman-Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kitchens, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Melson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Shellnut, Mr. Singleton, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have 30 senators present, which is a quorum. The Senate is ready to transact business. Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, move that we excuse absent senators.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we dispense with the reading of the journal from the previous legislative day and that we adopt said journal.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, now move on to introduction of the bill. Senator Jones.
Mr. President, move that we allow for the introduction of bills at any point throughout the day.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, move that we allow for the introduction of committee reports, reception of committee reports at any point throughout the day.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, Secretary, call the first House message. Before we get started, I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. When I call your name, if you could please stand. Members of the Association of County Commissions of Alabama, if y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
Message from the governor. Senate confirmation number 116, appointing Doug Ragland to the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, is referred to the Committee on Confirmations. Message from the governor. Senate confirmation number 117, appointing Harry Hobbs to the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, is referred to the Committee on Confirmations. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 35 by Representative Bedsole regarding volunteer firefighters is referred to the Committee on County and Municipal Government. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 141 by Representative Hassel regarding state employees. Tell them we'll get back. Yeah. Hold on. No, hold on. They didn't write a committee. See what committee he wants on that one. Y'all just hold on one second. Greg, just ask what committee he wants on. All right. We'll probably do them too. Let me check. I'm just going to reread the same. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill 141 by Representative Hassel is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation General Fund. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 211 by Representative Wood, R., with notice and proof regarding Calhoun County, is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 200 by Representative Allman, relating to the Alabama Business Corporation Law, is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 94 by Representative Gavan, relating to crimes and offenses, is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 250 by Representative Underwood, relating to candidates, is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 73 by Representative Sellers, with notice and proof regarding Jefferson County, is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation, Jefferson County. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 269 by Representative Treadaway, with notice and proof regarding Jefferson County, is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation, Jefferson County. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 104 by Representative Drummond, with notice and proof regarding Class II municipalities, is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation, Mobile County. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 101 by Representative Shirey, regarding Mobile County, with notice and proof, is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation, Mobile County. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk.
I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. When I call your name, if you could please stand. These are the guests of Senator Billy Beasley, Commissioner Jan Fountain, and Commissioner Miles Robinson, Macon County Commissioners. Y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. I want to recognize one other special guest, the guest of Senator Kitchens, works with the Huntsville Hospital Association, Allison Ross. If you could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 147 by Representative Pettis, regarding the State Procurement Code, is referred to the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 195 by Representatives Rim and others, regarding motor vehicle registration, is referred to the Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill 261 by Representative Ellis regarding the Department of Insurance is referred to the Committee on Banking and Insurance. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill 123 by Representatives Underwood and Wilcox regarding the Alabama Sunset Law is referred to the Committee on County and Municipal Government. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 159 by Representative Lovern regarding the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission is referred to the Committee on State Governmental Affairs. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill 205 by Representative Underwood relating to use taxes is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation, General Fund. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk.
I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. When I call your name, if you could please stand. The Alabama Academy of Eye Physicians. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
It's gone. It's already back.
All right, that concludes House messages. Now move on to committee reports. Secretary, call the first committee.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 18, appointing Charles Wilkinson to the Alabama Board of Rehabilitation Services, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms Charles Wilkinson to the Board of Rehab Services. And using long roll, I guess we need to establish a roll.
We do. Secretary, call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chastain. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner, Ms. Weaver, Mr. Williams,
28 ayes, 0 nays. Charles Wilkinson is confirmed. Before I move on to next confirmation, I want to recognize a special guest on the floor, former Senator Larry Means. Welcome to Alabama Senate. Good to have you. All right, Secretary called next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 8, appointing Kevin Kidd to the Alabama Board of Rehabilitation Services, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
Move that the Senate confirm Kevin Kidd to the Board of Rehab Services using previous role with no objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
28 ayes, 0 nays. Kevin Kidd's confirmed. Secretary called next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 79, appointing Charles Ward to the Court of the Judiciary, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
Move that the Senate confirm Charles Ward to the Court of the Judiciary using previous role with no objection.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
28 ayes, 0 nays. Charles Ward's confirmed. Secretary called next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 103, appointing Holly Brown Owens to the Alabama Crime Victim Compensation Commission, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
Make a motion that the Senate confirm Holly Brown Owens to the Alabama Crime Victims Compensation Commission using previous role with no objection.
All right.
Could I be recognized?
Yeah, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I mentioned to you, Senator, but back in the day, I don't know, do you have the little book with the history of when this commission started?
I don't have it here with me. I probably could get it back in my office. I actually do have.
Because I don't want to make any statement that may not be accurate, but I can remember back, let me see,
Actually, the Act of 1984. I do have it here.
Okay, so 84 and 24 is what, about 40 years? Yeah. It was during that same period that the first victims assistance program that assisted people who were victims of crime was established. And it was established in Jefferson County. And it was established, the very first one in the state. And it was established by a lady who I just happened to have known for about 45 years. And it's only fitting that we're in Black history for me to share that information and just to tell you that I happened to live about 45 years of my life with this particular person. So I'm familiar with just, what they do, and they do a good job. You know, you and I had talked a little earlier, but you know how sometimes when there's a cold, you have a cough, and then sometimes when you drink too much, you have what's called a hiccup. Right now, it's just a little amount of hiccup that's going on, so I thought I'd just kind of share that indirectly with you, so you wouldn't be, in a kind of a wandering mind.
I understand.
And they're trying to bring some water so that the hiccup can go away. And so that's where we are right now. They're trying to it was a little hiccup that popped up. And we're just trying to make sure that the hiccup, is taken care of, and it won't be something that will throw our flow off of, because when you're trying to talk, and then you get a hiccup, you have to stop. And, it's kind of like a car that's missing a spark plug or something. You know what I mean? Saying, they're just running, So
I appreciate you sharing that with me.
the car moving now. The car still moves. It just sputters. You know, it doesn't sound as smooth. So, what's some of the other ones that you're gonna take up today?
We have the Department of Human Resources too. This actually goes along with your discussion of Black History Month because Dr. Holly Brown Owens is an African American female.
Okay.
And we have the two from the Department of Human Resources. And we have, let's see, we've done the Court of the Judiciary. We also have the two from the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and the Blind.
Oh, okay.
So we have four more in the
Okay.
basket after that. 2 DHR and 2 from Alabama Department of Deaf and Blind.
Okay. How many you have to do on these? You got to do both of them, or just the first one? I know you did some.
The only one from this commission.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Mr. President, I'm gonna yield back to the senator.
All right, thanks, Senator Smithman.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Weaver.
Yes. Make a motion to confirm using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. Holly Brown Owens is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 98, appointing Mary Pat Lawrence to the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
All right, got some special guests in the gallery. The guest of Senator Livingston, when I call your name, if you could please stand, the Cornerstone Christian Academy from Rainsville, if y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
Make a motion that the Senate confirm Mary Pat Lawrence to the Board of Trustees for the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind, used in previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. Mary Pat Lawrence is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 97, appointing Hope Curry Scarborough to the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirm Hope Curry Scarborough to the Board of Trustees for the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. Hope Scarborough is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 10, appointing Joseph Morton to the State Board of Human Resources, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Move that Senate confirm Joseph Morton to the Board of Human Resources, using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. Joseph Morton's confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 9, appointing Kathy Sawyer to the State Board of Human Resources, receives a favorable report by a vote of 12 ayes and 0 nays.
Move that the Senate confirm Kathy Sawyer to the Board of Human Resources, using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. This concludes confirmations. All right, thanks, Senator Weaver. All right, Secretary, call next committee.
From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill Number 41 receives a favorable report From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 127 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 128 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, House Bill number 135 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 100 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 98 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 99 receives a favorable report.
These bills received a second read to be placed on the calendar for next legislative day. Does that conclude? Oh, all right, Secretary, call the next committee.
From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 174 receives a favorable report with one amendment by a vote of 8 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, House Bill number 196 receives a favorable report by a vote of 8 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, House Bill number 25 receives a favorable report by a vote of 8 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 193 receives a favorable report with one amendment by a vote of 5 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 abstentions.
All right, this concludes committee reports. Now move on to motions and resolutions.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
have some resolutions from rules.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the resolutions from rules, please.
From the Committee on Rules, Senate Joint Resolution number 24 by Senator Chambliss, commending Joseph A. Chambliss and Mrs. Geraldine Maria Chambliss. Also, Senate Joint Resolution number 27 by Senator Elliott, mourning the death of Lieutenant Colonel George A. Garzon. Receive a favorable report.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move adoption of these resolutions.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Mr. President, I have some resolutions from rules.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the resolutions from rules, please.
From the Committee on Rules, House Joint Resolution number 8 by Representative Daniels, mourning William F. O'Connor Jr. Also, House Joint Resolution number 16 by Representative Faulkner, mourning the death of William Jelks Bill Cabanis Jr. Also, House Joint Resolution number 21 by Representative Hall, commending the General Federation of Women's Clubs, Alabama Federation of Women's Clubs. Also, House Joint Resolution number 28 by Representative Lawrence, commending John Clyde Riggs. Also, House Joint Resolution number 47 by Representative Lee, commending the Alabama Department of Public Health. Also, House Joint Resolution number 53 by Representative Sorrells, commending Alice Pack. Also, House Joint Resolution number 54 by Representative Hall, commending the General Federation of Women's Clubs. Also, House Joint Resolution number 59 by Representative Stadhagen, congratulating Randall Shedd, receive a favorable report.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move adoption of these resolutions.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
have some resolution from rules.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the resolutions from rules.
From the Committee on Rules, House Joint Resolution number 2 by Representative Pringle. Committee appointed to notify governor that the legislature is in session. Receives a favorable report.
Let me adopt these. Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move adoption of these resolutions.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution's adopted. Senator Smitherman. Huh?
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
President.
I'm sorry, hold on, one more.
Okay.
From the Committee on Rules, House Joint Resolution number 3, appointing a committee to escort the governor to joint session of the legislature, receives a favorable report.
Mr. President,
Senator
move
Wagner.
adoption of the resolution.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution's adopted. A little late on that one. All right, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could be recognized for a moment of personal privileges.
You're recognized.
Thank you. I have several moments of Black history that I'm going to share with the body. Some of them you may be familiar with, and some you may not. We're going to start out with our first person. His name is Arthur Ashe. He was a tennis great. He was born 1943 and lived until 1993. He was the first black man to win the tennis championships at the U.S. Open in 1968 and Wimbledon in 1975. After retiring from the sport, he became known for his work on behalf of civil rights and AIDS awareness. Our next moment of Black history is that on August the 30th, 1856, the first college to educate African Americans was founded in Ohio in a former hotel, named in honor of William Wilberforce, an 18th century abolitionist. Wilberforce College was attended by more than 200 students from around the country. By 1858, Bishop Daniel A. Payne, one of the original founders, purchased the school in 1863 and became the second president of Wilberforce and the first African American to lead a university. And our third and final one for the day is on November the 2nd, 1903. The St. Luke Penny Savings Bank in Richmond, Virginia, opened for business. This event made Maggie Leon Walker the first African-American woman both to charter a bank and serve as a bank president. Walker was a businesswoman and teacher who dedicated her life to promoting Black economic independence and making tangible improvements in the way of life for African Americans. Thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. President. And these are our moments today of Black history. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Senator Smitherman.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
have a report from the Committee on Rules.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the report from the Committee on Rules.
From the Committee on Rules, Senate Resolution number 30, Special Order Calendar. Be it resolved by the Senate of the Legislature of Alabama that immediately upon the adoption of this resolution, The following business in the order set forth below shall be the special and paramount order of business for the 9th legislative day, taking precedence over the regular order of business or any pending or unfinished business. On page 5, Senate Bill 116 by Senator Barfoot regarding machine gun conversion devices. On page 6, Senate Bill number 118 by Senator Barfoot regarding bail. On page 6, Senate Bill 119 by Senator Barfoot regarding firearms. On page 16, Senate Bill number 108 by Senator Weaver regarding crimes and offenses. On page 16, Senate Bill number 47 by Senator Singleton and others regarding first responders. On page 10, Senate Bill number 68 by Senator Jones and others regarding local emergency management organizations.
Is that it? Mr. President, move adoption of the report from the Committee on Rules.
Would you like to use previous roll? Do you want to use previous roll? All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
(29 ayes, 0 nays). The special order calendar is adopted. Secretary, call the first bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 116 by Senator Barfoot regarding machine gun conversion devices. BR pending.
Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd move for adoption of the BIR using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 116 by Senator Barfoot regarding machine gun conversion devices.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity to be recognized on this important piece of legislation. Members, you may recall that the governor, in her State of the State speech, discussed this very bill. I want to give credit where credit's due. There are lots of people who had a hand in trying to craft this piece of legislation to get it to the point that it is now. This SB 116, law enforcement has been involved in trying to help deter some of what they've seen on the streets and to give some protection to the citizens of the state of Alabama. Number one. Number two, certainly the Speaker's office, Lieutenant Governors, we appreciate the input, certainly, and then from the governor. Under federal law, a machine gun conversion device is already illegal. Some would say, then, why do we need a state statute addressing what is already against the federal law? And the reason for that is because when law enforcement pulls someone over and they have one of these machine gun conversion devices, they don't have the ability, statutory ability, unless they're a part of a federal task force, to arrest them and prosecute them at the scene under state law. Representative Philip Ensler actually started this bill in the House a couple years ago and has worked diligently to give some guidance on this and been as a big part of it. So I'd just like to kind of go through here, and I see my colleague on the other side may want to dialogue for a few minutes. This bill defines machine gun, and again, we are not creating new law in the state of Alabama from the sense of federal law already outlaws these machine gun conversion devices, commonly sometimes referred to as Glock switches, but more appropriately referred to as machine gun conversion devices. A machine gun in the bill is defined as a pistol that is designed to shoot or can readily be restored to shoot automatically with more than one shot. There was some conversation earlier on about binary triggers. We wanted to make sure that we protected that. They're not outlawed under federal law, and so we want to make sure that we protect that. Certainly, as a proponent of Second Amendment rights and a firearm owner or multiple firearms, there's a balancing act there. But again, already under federal law, these conversion devices are illegal. and we're giving our local law enforcement the ability to arrest and prosecute these folks who would take these conversion devices and convert a semi-automatic legal pistol into a fully automatic weapon. With that, Mr. President, I see my colleague across the way, and I think he may have some questions or comments, and I'd like to yield to him for dialogue.
All right, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senator, because this bill is the first up, I have a few things I want to say. Of course, it relates to the bill, but it's just a little different from what you shared with us about the inner workings of the bill itself, okay? So I thought I would say that this is not in it. This comment does not address anything different than what you said about the gun itself, but it just goes just a little deeper, okay? And I realize I could have done this when we put the special order calendar to be considered, and that probably would have been the more convenient moment. But I want to share with the body once again that we're here Tuesday, and I would just assume what legislative day this is, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th?
Today?
Yes.
Day 9.
9. It's the 9th legislative day. So I've been standing up here, basically, I didn't do it every moment because it was a continuation of my concern. So I'm just gonna say it's been 9 legislative days. I've talked about the agenda that we have in our special order calendar. And I talked about the inclusion of the minority caucus in terms of 1/3 of the bills on the agenda. We talked about that. We discussed that. That is what we were supposed to be doing, working with our committees to make sure that there was bills that could be considered. We back to back now. Last one we had none on it. Now we got 8 bills and we got 1 bill on here. That's not 1/3, or 9. That's not 1/3. And I keep saying this, that this is a policy that was established at the request of the majority party. Then they were the minority party. So I want you to know where this comes from, okay? So now I'm saying the people who implemented and put this in, I'm asking them to adhere and recognize the necessity for us to do that. Now, I got over here on this sheet of paper right here in my hand, I have a total, and this is probably more, but I have a total of 41 bills that sitting in the hopper right now from our caucus. I got 41. 41. All we had to do is get 2 more and we would have had the number we needed to reach that here. So out of 41 bills, it was only decided that we should get 1 bill on this agenda. And that's what's on there now, 1. Now, I'm not going, that is not it's not my basis for being here at this mic until the midnight or whatever happens. That's not my basis, but that may become my basis. I want to say it. So nobody will be wondering why he doing this and doing that. I'm going to say that now, is that we are requesting again that we have 1/3 of the agenda unless something otherwise prevents that from happening that is of no consequences to anybody. But other than that, so I'm making that request again. My second request is this, is that I realize that we have today what may be called, I guess, crime or gun special order. I had a conversation with you, and I had a conversation. And I'm saying what I said. You see what I mean? I can't say what you said. Only you can do that. But I said in that conversation that I had, I said, Mr. Chairman, I said that you have a bill that deals with the Glock switches. I said, I have a bill that deals with the Glock switches. And I said that the representative is, what's his name now? Philip
Insler.
Inslee. I don't know why I want to put an I on his name and call it Isley. I know, but I always be want to say Isley, but it's Inslee. I said that, and he had one. And I said that I did not have any problem with ultimately the bill that becomes law being his bill. I said that, but however, I did want to put mine in a position and put yours in a position with the House, so if it became necessary for those bills to be considered, i.e. yours or mine, that we would have one in that direction, that if something happened up here, i.e. with handling budgets, or i.e. what happened, and we didn't get to it, then we would still be able to get the law passed. Then I found out today that there was a request for certain bills to be on here in that, and nobody from our caucus, we got blocked. We didn't get the opportunity today, the same bills, to put on this agenda for them to be considered. Now, it's
Just a point of reference, that just, we did, out of committee, we passed your bill overwhelmingly too.
Yeah, oh no, I'm there again. Didn't I say, I'm having a conversation with you, what I had. It's nothing about you. I mean, that's why I tried to clarify that at first to make sure you understood. No, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about from the time I left you until I'm standing here now, and I'm looking at this agenda, and ain't none of them on that from our caucus on here. You know, as I said in committee, dealing with this issue that we trying to deal with, it ain't an R issue. It ain't a D issue. It ain't a black issue. It ain't a white issue. It's safety. When them bullets come out of here, it's just like, I'll give you a clear example. You take, if it's somebody standing right there that they're trying to shoot at, I guarantee you with that switch on there, everybody that's standing over there gonna get shot. Everybody, because the bullet's gonna go everywhere, okay? So I just said that to say that, and I'm not just talking to you, but I'm talking to everybody in here. And the people who really need to hear what I'm saying, they're in here. And that is, let's don't start out by blocking other sides who have good pieces of legislation because it's a different party. That's what I'm saying. And it gives the smell that that's what's happening in this situation. I want everybody to understand that I represent the district that all them people were shot on the south side of Birmingham. I'm their senator. I have just as much special interest in making sure those citizens, that doesn't happen to them again up there, just like everybody else want to do it for their district. So I had to say that part today. I have a special interest, not just an interest as a legislator, but a special one, okay, in this issue being handled and dealt with. So I'm saying that this time just to simply say that I'm trying to avoid us getting to a point where it has an impact on our process. So I'm asking again for those things I just talked about without being repetitive, you know, and saying them all over again. So I hope everybody's listening carefully, that was just a hiccup that we won't have again. So yeah, those are my hopes. I'm hoping. I'm just hoping like I don't know what, that we don't have a problem with the calendar, and we don't have no problem like that with pieces of legislation, okay? And I hope that. So I'm gonna think positive on those issues at this moment, okay? I'm gonna think positive, you know, and but I choose to think in that manner. because or better yet, I choose to be optimistic.
You're a glass half full kind of guy is what you're telling me.
Yes, because if I was the other way, I would just start continue, whatever the rules would allow me to do. Okay, so but I have no intentions. That's not my personal intentions at all. But yes, in this bill, let me say it, since we need to talk about the bill, let's talk just for a few minutes. I was contacted by my DAs in the minute these bills were filed, and there were some provisions that relates to the possession, having possession, and knowingly, and they have requested that they actually sent it, what's in the code now, in another section related to the possession, and asked would we adopt the existing code section that we have now. So I think that there probably are some people looking at it, because for people who are not lawyers, let me say to you what's the difference in this. Yeah, what's the difference in this? It's simply this, is that if you're sitting there in your seat and you have in your hand a phone, and that phone can provide all the necessary contacts that you need, and you're on a forbidden contact, and in that scenario, the only way they could get on the contact if you put it on the contact. Now, you putting it on the contact.
Senator Smithman, if I could, I want to kind of tag along with what you've said. I know Senator Bell has a question for you. As I understand it, the issue is the knowingly part of the equation, and I understand that you had some concerns about that, and I think there's an amendment over there in your possession that
Yes,
probably
sir.
addresses the issues that you had some concerns about. And I'll let you explain it because it is your amendment. I've looked at it, had others look at it, and I think it's a friendly amendment.
It is.
And it certainly appears that it would give law enforcement the ability to take into account the possession of those pieces or combination of pieces that would make up a machine gun conversion device. And it's almost, basically you've taken out the knowingly part as an element of that, and the mere possession, and we talk about strict liability in terms of civil litigation, but in this case it would be strict liability that if you had those pieces or parts of pieces to create a conversion, machine gun conversion device, that they could hold you accountable for that.
That's correct, Mr.
Yeah.
Senator.
So I think, as I understand that amendment that you've got, I think it's a friendly amendment, and certainly will be voting for it as I understand it.
Thank you very much. And I'm okay. You ready for me to present?
Yes, sir.
All right. Will the desk receive this?
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment, please.
Amendment to Senate Bill 116 by Senator Smitherman. Replace lines 50 through 55 on page 2 with the following.
Mr. President.
Senator Smithman.
Go on, you can take that. Go. If there's no other questions from the sponsor or anyone, then I would move for adoption of the amendment and ask unanimous consent to use previous role.
No questions. I believe it's a friendly amendment, and I intend to vote for it.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
Twenty-eight ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Smitherman amendment is adopted.
Mr. President,
Senator Barfoot.
I think we've talked about this bill enough. I don't know if Senator Smitherman has any other questions or comments, or any other members do regarding this bill. I do think it's an important tool for law enforcement, and with that, I'd move for adoption of final passage of SB 116 as amended using previous rule.
Any objection? Hearing none. Sealed. All right, hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
28 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 116 passes. Thanks, Senator Barfoot. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 118 by Senator Barfoot, a proposed constitutional amendment regarding bail. BR pending.
Mr. President, I'd move for adoption of the BR using previous rule.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
28 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 118 by Senator Barfoot, a proposed constitutional amendment regarding bail. Committee amendment pending.
Mr. President, if I could, I'm going to talk in general terms about what the constitutional amendment is, and then I'll make a motion for adoption of the committee amendment, and I'll explain that as well. Remember here several years back, we took up the issue of what was commonly referred to as Aniah's Law. That was named after a young lady who was kidnapped and brutally murdered, college student from over in Auburn. As you know, Senator, in order to change the Constitution, the people of the state of Alabama had to vote on that, and they did. And we passed Aniah's Law. The people, the citizens of the state of Alabama passed that a couple of years ago. And what Aniah's Law did was it changed the non-bailable offenses. Under previous law, going back several years, the only thing that a person could be held without bail for was a capital murder offense. And Aniah's Law set out about 11 or 12 different instances where if someone was charged, the courts could have a hearing, procedural hearing, go through all the steps to hear evidence, to hear evidence of the case or the charge, to determine whether or not it rose to the level of a case that that individual might not be afforded the opportunity to bail. That law has now been in effect for the last couple of years. Over the past couple of years, though, we've seen the need for an amendment to the Constitution to add in 2 different offenses, and let me talk about those. The 2 offenses proposed in this constitutional amendment, number 1 would be the conspiracy, solicitation, or attempt to commit murder. If you're charged under current Aniah's Law, Constitution of the state of Alabama, if you're charged with murder, you have that hearing and the judge might find that you are not afforded bail. This extends that to a solicitation for murder, a conspiracy to murder, or an attempted murder. So that's one provision there. The second provision is that under current law, shooting into an occupied dwelling or vehicle, the statute goes on to say airplane, locomotive, and it lists some other things. But if you're charged under that statute, this would also mean under the constitutional amendment that you would have that same hearing and the judge would have to make a decision based on those circumstances of discharging a firearm or shooting into an occupied building or vehicle or the other things that are enumerated in that statute. The judge could deny bail under those circumstances. So those are the 2 things as proposed that would be added in the constitutional amendment. There was some consideration, and Senator Smitherman, this is, I think, of some importance to all involved. that was amended in the Judiciary Committee to only put those two in the CA. And I know Senator Smitherman is very passionate about this as well. And we're on the Judiciary Committee amendment. I'll be glad to walk through that a little bit more now with you if you want me to, or certainly will answer any questions that you have before we put that committee amendment up for adoption.
Would the only question, ma'am, the only question that I have is that would that amendment, the implementation of those additional categories on the amendment, would they follow the same procedures as the other ones that's on the list?
They would.
Same procedures?
They would, and
okay.
the CA actually doesn't describe the procedure. That's, of course, in the enabling legislation, current law that we passed a couple of years ago, and then, you know, certainly in 119, there's some procedural changes, potential procedural changes that we will get to at the appropriate time. But the procedure under a NISE law, this constitutional amendment, would not change. The CA would not change that. It simply adds in solicitation, conspiracy, or attempted murder, as well as discharging a firearm, shooting into an occupied building, vehicle, into those categories.
Well, let me say this to you, that I would like, when we get to that, you know, I think it's 119, whenever we get to a point we can, I would like to, if you would, kind of be able to educate me on that. You know how you have a comparison and contrast?
Right.
Comparison is to what's there, and the contrast to, like you said, it'll change the procedures a little bit.
Sure.
That's one thing I'd like for us to be able to talk about. Would
Sure.
you?
I'll be glad to. On 119, we've addressed some of the concerns that are out there just from a procedural standpoint. We want to make sure we protect, again, that's on 119, but we want to make sure we protect the defendant's constitutional rights that they have and balance that with the procedure that we have in place. And so be glad to discuss that in more in depth when we get on 119.
All right, but at this moment, it's back to you on this one.
Mr. President, with that, I'd move to adopt the Judiciary Committee amendment on SB 118 using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, we've talked about it a little bit and be glad to talk to you a little bit more now that we've got an amendment on there. I do think that this is an important piece of the puzzle that where we can, you know, procedurally those judges have two more different charges that they can look at and determine based on the evidence presented to them whether or not somebody should be afforded bail. So with that, unless you've got any other questions or comments, I'd move to for final passage of SB 119 as amended using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
Twenty-nine ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 118 passes amended. Thanks, Senator Barfoot. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 119 by Senator Barfoot regarding firearms. BR pending.
Mr. President, I'd move for adoption of the BR using previous role.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 119 by Senator Barfoot regarding firearms. Committee amendment pending.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to talk to you in just general detail of what the bill does. I don't know if there's any opposition to, there was a committee amendment that I will be moving to table at the appropriate time. There will be some follow-up amendments that, you know, we want to discuss. And again, you know, time frame is, we'll see how that works out. But in general, let me tell you what 119 does. 119 is a part of SB 119 is the enabling portion of what we just talked about, and that's the expansion of a NISE law. As you're aware, Senator Smitherman, once you have a CA, you've also got to have a corresponding enabling bill that sets forth how procedures work, what the court must do, can't do, the time frame of which those things happen. So the enabling piece of Ania's law, this constitutional amendment, is included in SB 119. Secondly, under current law, SB 119 takes what is a Class B felony, and that is shooting into an occupied building. Class B already under current law, shooting into an occupied building or dwelling vehicle from a Class B to a Class A felony. Anyone who randomly shoots into an occupied vehicle or building like that, is a heinous act, and I know you've seen some of that. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I perfectly understand where you're coming from. I sort of have that. I don't want to put this in here now because we're gonna have some discussion, and then I would like to. I want to kind of put this on the table when we do to have a little further discussion about the fact of somebody who actually break into somebody's home. I mean, one thing I've found more than not, that when someone breaking somebody's home, they don't know if somebody's in there or not. And so when they go in with the intention, they may have to use some firepower, and probably will try to use it. Now that's almost an akin to shooting into an occupied dwelling. It's not there, but it's. So I said that just to say to you, I'm definitely in favor of dealing with shooting in an occupied dwelling. I'm definitely in favor of somebody who got the nerve to shoot into a car that people are in it. Because, you heard what I gave the example back there. Nobody condones this kind of behavior. But you're talking about innocent citizens, innocent people who don't even know that people got a beef, who don't have any knowledge or anything whatsoever to do with it.
Happen to be riding down the same road or living in the same neighborhood and are now a victim.
Yes. So I mean, we just had a similar situation in Western Hills Mall that's in Fairfield. I think it was yesterday. It wasn't yesterday, it was Saturday. That the same thing happened with two people. And this is an innocent shopper in the store. Innocent. Now he's dead. Innocent. Didn't have nothing. Didn't really know what was going on at first. But he's dead. So that this recklessness, that's what you're talking about.
It is.
And the unconsideration for the unappreciation for the life of others. Then, I said this to someone. In fact, I said it today, and I know we can't go too far and all that. Everybody was talking about their rights, they had a gun and all that. And let me just say this for just so you can understand. Sometimes people hear when you talk about things that they try to shape what position that you may as a person have. Listen, I don't have any problem with people having guns legally. I don't have any problem with people or whatsoever. In fact, I went to training. I was once upon a time in another life. You all have heard about many things I've done from this mic, but once upon a time in another life, I was the clerk in criminal district court, actually for Judge Pete Johnson. He was the one who created drug court. And I was involved with, as his clerk in that process. So I said that to say that he always wanted us to be qualified as sheriff deputies. So among the things that I did in those qualifications, going through that, through the level of qualifications, I had to go to Holt, Alabama. And that's where you have to qualify shooting before they will certify you as being certifiable in terms of your shooting. And I said that just to say to you that I'm taking you back 40 years, but back then they had the 32s, the long barrel 32s. And I qualified with a short barrel 32. So if you know about guns,
A little bit more difficult with the short barrel than it is long barrel.
that's right. So I just only said I can shoot a gun very well. So I'm not against anybody. In fact, I have one myself. You know, every so often I tell people this. I say it humorously, and they say in every humor, every joke there's a little truth. So I'm gonna tell you a joke, and then I'll let you apply in your mind what you think the little truth in it. But I told someone told me while I was coming through you know how we come through our gate, and they said, Senator said, we saw you come through the gate, you know, and I said, yeah. They said, yeah, we didn't see anybody but you in the car. And I told them, I said, sometimes when I'm in the car, that you only see one person, but there are 3 people in the car. There are 3. And they asked me, they said, what 3 people in the car if I only see you? I said that it was me, I'm in the car, my second passenger is Smith, and my third passenger is Weston, okay? It's 3 of us in the car. See, so so I had to say that I have no problem with people legally owning guns, okay? I had to, because I do myself. So I'm having a problem with that. I know very well how to use it. I wanted to qualify that out my statement, okay? But by the same token, is that you can't be reckless with it, and you can't have a disregard and appreciation for people, human lives. So when we made the move to decide to eliminate the permit and let everybody in the world, in Alabama, I can't say the world, who wants to carry a gun, you just grab your gun and go. Because that's really what it is now. I'm just telling you emphatically, it's like the Wild Wild West. I see kids 15 years old, 16 years old with a gun strapped on the side of the hip.
But you know that's illegal under state law already for them to have that.
Yeah, but see, we done tied the police hands about what can they do about the gun? Nothing. They can't say, if it's sitting on that seat, they cannot say one thing about that gun. So my point is not to belabor about that. It is what it is. The state passed that law. Now, what we gotta do, since the permit process weeded a lot of people out and eliminated many people from conducting any kind of behavior that is happening like with the Glock switches, then now we as a legislative body have to go to the next step and define how everybody in the whole world we let have guns are able to use them. And that's what we really doing in all these different laws. Annihilation's law, that's all we doing. See, we ain't eliminating the gun and everybody having one in the state. What we're saying, if you got one, and if you do the things you said in them 2 exceptions, then you are gonna be found guilty of those crimes that listed, you know, that's under. And if that's the way, y'all know how I always said, what I said is that it's, you know, my objective is to take whatever rules are in position and whatever tools and succeed. So under this scenario, the only way we can succeed, the only way, we had more than one way when we had the permit, but the only way we can succeed now is to address each one of these situations that is the egregious ones, and be able to put a tighter grip on what takes place if you engage in them. And that's what we're doing here, because we are past the Nigeria's law already. So now remember I said the grip? Now we putting a little tighter grip because of what I said. That's my opinion. But because of what I just said, because everybody's got a gun now. So now we got to grip them on what they can do with this gun and what they can't do with this gun in terms of public safety. So in that regard, I think that it's good what we're trying to do. But at the same time, there are some other elements that I think we have to consider and go back to my analysis. I probably won't ever think of a better one. And that's the airplane. It's the airplane. Those two things that you just talked about, and Niles' law, is the plane. I'm looking straight down that runway. I even see the runway clear in terms of the plane, but I always have to go back. You have to go to a checkpoint. And the next checkpoint is what? The wings. And the wings, there are still people under these wings. And so that's what my concern is, that we'll be able to address the people under the wings so we can clear them out under the wings and the plane can take off and just fly like it needs to fly, okay?
I think we've got some amendments that we worked on and probably maybe need to continue to work on that that you may find favorable as it relates to individuals who have multiple felonies, convictions, even nonviolent felony convictions that we will help address some of that and help law enforcement. Quite honestly, I'll say that the law enforcement members that I've spoken to were very much in favor of SB 119. I know that you are. I believe you are generally. I know you just said that. I think you mentioned that maybe some potential amendments that you would like to look at a little bit further, rather than having those up today. And certainly we can have that conversation. Let me finish.
Okay, go right on.
Let me get back
please.
on SB 119 and just tell you what else SB 119 does, because this is an important function. And Senator Smitherman, you certainly already know this, that as a condition of bond, current law, the courts can restrict you from, if you have a felony, pending felony condition of that bond, they could restrict you from possessing a firearm. The remedy for that would be that if you violate those conditions of release, that the court could pull you back in and come off of your bond, and you'd be sitting in the jail until your trial. An additional proposal under SB 119 would be that if you are in possession of a firearm while you're pending trial, that you could have a new felony trial. You could have a new possession case. It's important to note, though, in that provision also says that if the underlying criminal offense for which you were charged with, if that case is dismissed or null prost or otherwise found not guilty, that particular provision would not come into play. So I think that's an important function of that. Other provisions, as we've already talked about, is the enabling portion of the constitutional amendment, the shooting into an occupied building that we've already gone over, and certainly we hope we get to a point that we can address those.
Well, I want to call you Mr. Chairman. I want to say that to the Senator. Mr. Chairman, if there's an opportunity, if we could, like we did with the gang bill, if we could just have an opportunity maybe to carry this over and we can sit down and meet with it, and to let you know how serious I am about it, I'll even make time tomorrow to sit down to where, we can kind of walk through it. And then, because I've had a couple other questions asked, and then I may invite them to listen. They're not lawyers, but they can kind of listen to see that their concerns may be addressed. And I think that they probably are. But if you'll do that, I would appreciate it. And because I want to say it again, I'm in favor of what you're trying to do. Okay, you know how the indications that you know a person is when we have a BIR, we go on to pass that before we talk about carrying over, and we do it with previous role.
Pretty good signal, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get you a good signal. I'm with you.
Well, Senator, I'd say, I think if your motion, if your request is to, let's sit down and talk through some of these things to make sure that the members of the body are comfortable with it, I'm certainly amenable to that. I think the package will speak, the bill will speak for itself in the amendments, and I'm hoping that we'll get full support on that. So with that, Mr. President, I'd move to carry over SB 119 to the call of the chair.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Senate Bill 119 is carried over. Call of the chair. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
Thank you,
On page 16 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 108 by Senator Weaver regarding crimes and offenses. BR pending.
All right, Senator Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 108 is a bill that is addressing mail fraud. Postal inspectors receive constant calls from local law enforcement and postal customers asking for assistance with mail theft and bank fraud related to issues, and not everyone has the potential for federal prosecution, and that's why this bill will help us address that at the state level. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the BIR.
Using previous role?
Previous role.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
29 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 16 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 108 by Senator Weaver regarding crimes and offenses.
Senator
With that,
Weaver.
if there are no questions, I'd like to move for final passage using previous role. No objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 108 passes. Thanks, Senator Weaver. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 16 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 47 by Senators Singleton and others regarding first responders. BR pending.
Senator Smitherman.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of BIR as unanimous consent to use the previous role.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 16 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 47 by Senator Singleton and others regarding first responders.
Give me just 1 minute, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. This bill deals with our first responders, and the bill states that an individual affiliated with or a member of any community emergency response team who has completed a community emergency response team training curriculum that is recognized by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It says under certain law, when healthcare providers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and other first responders render first aid or other help to individuals affected by an emergency or a disaster, they are shielded from civil liability arising from their assistance. This bill will specify that individuals who are part of a community emergency response team previously the law granted protection from civil liability if an individual was a member of any community emergency response team certified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This bill grants those protections to individuals who have completed a community emergency response team program recognized by the Federal Emergency Management Agency or to contractors who have completed a community emergency response team training curriculum recognized by the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
All right.
Are there any questions? If there are no questions, then I'll move for final passage and ask unanimous consent to use the previous role.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
I got to talk to you.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 47 passes. Thanks, Senator Singleton. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 10 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 68 by Senator Jones and others regarding local emergency management organizations. BR pending.
Senator Jones.
Mr. President, move adoption of the BR using the previous roll without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 10 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 68 by Senator Jones and others regarding local emergency management organizations.
Mr. President, this bill simply updates Alabama law to align with present-day emergency management operations and allows local governing bodies to coordinate resources. So during any occasion that if they're not adequately managed, they may, so they won't pose a threat to the health and safety of Alabamians and their property. So I'm going to move for final passage if there are no questions at this time using the previous roll without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 68 passes. Thank you, Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Senator Gudger.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good day today. Thank you for everybody working together and working on these particular bills. I know there was one that was carried over because we had some bipartisan support on both of that. So as we go, Mr. President, I'll take a motion to adjourn until Thursday, February 27th at 9:30.
All right, heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Senator Singleton says, let's get to work.